Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LTH product briefing. I'm delighted today to be joined by Senne Mennes, the co-founder and Swiss Army knife of ClauseBase. Welcome, Senne.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for having me.
Senne, so ClauseBase is a really interesting company in that it has two different products, ClauseBuddy and Clause9. And as we've just spoken about, they kind of operate on a bit of a maturity continuum. But today we're here to talk about ClauseBuddy specifically. Can you tell us a little bit about the background of ClauseBuddy and how it came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So ClauseBuddy was a kind of logical evolution from our original product, Clause9, which is a highly advanced document automation tool. We noticed that, a lot of law firms, a lot of legal teams aren't quite ready yet to dive into document automation. They don't have the resources or they don't have the necessary skills. And ClauseBuddy came about as a way to assist lawyers in reaching that sort of legal tech maturity. And so ClauseBuddy, in that respect, is a legal drafting toolbox that assists in a range of different elements of the legal drafting process. So ClauseBuddy offers clause extraction from precedent documents. It allows you to create curated clause libraries for standardizing your legal drafting content. Some more rudimentary document automation, fairly easy to get started with, but not as flexible, of course, as Clause9, and a range of different other tools that we will be jumping into to assist lawyers with legal drafting.
Wonderful. And one of the main things ClauseBuddy provides, as you mentioned, is a clause library and the ability to populate that from precedents and to really, in a nuanced way, handle permissioning and driven, which sounds terrific. Senne, what are you going to show us today?
Yeah, so today I'll take a brief look through the general ClauseBuddy overview. Obviously, there's more to ClauseBuddy than I'll be able to show in the next 5 to 10 minutes, but I'm of course happy to provide some additional information in a tailored demo.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, let's jump into it and take a look.
Terrific. I'll start sharing my screen. There we go. So you should be able to see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, terrific. So as you can see, I'm in my Microsoft Word environment. I have my ClauseBuddy plugin open, and we also have the different modules in ClauseBuddy on full display here. I'll start with the inspiration module because this is where a lot of lawyers come from as well. They just have this huge pile of precedent material and they're just trying to find clauses whenever they're drafting legal documents. They're trying to find precedents, they're trying to find clauses from this huge haystack. ClauseBuddy allows you to extract clauses from your precedent material to more quickly find that needle in a haystack. Not only does it allow you to do that on your own content, which you can see here in the truffle hunt, it also allows you to do that on a huge sample library of millions of clauses based on the American Securities Exchange Commission's Edgar database. And so I'll quickly reload for a second. So I'll show you in short what that looks like. So here you can search for a keyword. Obviously, like I said, this sample library is literally millions of clauses large. So you're going to find way too many results based on normal keyword searches, which is where you'll want to start filtering your search down a little bit more. So here you could say, like, we're working on a license agreement here on the left. So let's say that indeed we want to search specifically in the context of license agreements. So now we've filtered that search down a little bit already. We can also say that we only want more recent clauses. And now we've brought down thousands of clauses to around 3. Final filter that we can apply here is that we can say, okay, we only want clauses that are rather short in nature or rather long in nature. So you can kind of, depending on what type of agreement you're drafting, you can kind of add that a little bit. And then when you found a document that you want, you can just make a little bit of space here in your documents, or rather when you found a clause that you want, and you can then insert it. ClauseBuddy will treat this clause like a chameleon. It'll enter its new environment and it'll automatically adapt to the styling of its new environment. So it'll adopt the right numbering, the right paragraph spacing, the right style for these headings and things like that. Everything that's part of the house style is basically copied onto the clause as it enters its new environment. Usually though, you'll see that this is not really the exact type of clause that you need. So you can always ask the AI to redraft the clause a little bit to make it a little bit more in line with what you're looking for. But yeah, that's another little bit of fine tuning there. This is the samples hunt, but the truffle hunt works in exactly the same way. So it's the same technology. The only difference is that you can also manage an inventory of your own precedent documents, so that you're not just searching on publicly available documents, but you can on a number of different topics topics, collect precedent material, upload precedent material, or even import precedent material from tools like iManage, for example, to collect your precedent clauses here.
And Senna, the baskets there presumably are what the firm or a legal department is able to curate themselves to set up permissions and different folders for different practices. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. So you can indeed, again, assign access rights to different parts of the library, to different baskets, depending on, for example, which department you are a part of.
Terrific. And so would a firm be able to switch off the samples hunt, for example, for particular personas if they wanted to, and restrict it to the truffle hunt, which, by the way, I love that name.
Yeah, no, that's indeed possible. Every single button that you see here, every single module that you see here can either be dropped or taken up, and that's all part of the legal drafting toolbox. Our clients decide which tools are relevant for them.
Right.
So yeah, moving on, like I said, this is very easy to get started with, this sort of extraction from precedent material, but you'll find that you'll still be doing a lot of searching through that huge pile. It's called finding a needle in a haystack for a reason. What you'll want to do after a while, or what we see lawyers do who really want to make a dent in their contract drafting efficiency, is that they'll start collecting and curating their knowledge a little bit in the quality library. And so indeed there, like I'll quickly show my own little distribution contracts environment. There you can have a folder structure on, in this case, for distribution contracts, on a range of different topics that can be relevant in the context of a distribution contract. And you can have like subfolders and subfolders to basically be able to zoom out on all available material in the library and then zoom back in on exactly that information that you need. So here, if I know that I need a boilerplate clause, I can zoom in and see, okay, what sort of boilerplate clauses do we have? And then if I need a dispute resolution clause, I can zoom in even further and say, okay, I need an applicable law clause. The good thing about this curated library is that you can then also augment it with a lot of additional information that may not be relevant, may not be immediately apparent to to people who weren't involved in the original drafting of the clause. You can add these kinds of comments. You can also add these tags, which then double up as a search filter. So I could say, I'm looking for an applicable law clause, but it needs to be very much in favor of the distributor. And then I can fine tune my search even further that way. And then adding a clause to the document is again a matter of inserting it directly or fine tuning it a little bit first with the drafting.
And is there a link back to the original document from which a clause came?
Not in the quality library, but in the truffle hunt, there is indeed a link to the original document. Okay, so that covers the clause elements. I'll quickly go through some of the artificial intelligence modules that we have here. So first of all, there's doc answer, which allows you to surface relevant information from a document if you don't want to go reading through it yourself. Like you could ask, what are the obligations of the parties in case of termination? And then the AI will start reading through the document to find that information for you. Where possible, it will also reference its source so that you can check for yourself whether that's relevant or not. You can also upload additional documents to involve in this query that you're basically asking. You can also see, and there we go, we have our answer. We can also zoom in on where it got the answer from. For these shorter type documents, this is usually something that we see that lawyers are capable of doing faster just by themselves. But for longer documents, this definitely becomes very useful very quickly.
And Senna, I believe you said you use GPT Turbo as
that's correct.
Great, thank you.
And then we have, I'll just quickly browse through some of the more interesting modules here. Then we have the draft text module, which allows you to, just as the name suggests, draft a clause based on a short prompt. No need to dive too deeply in that. You can also redraft text, so you can select text in your document, basically like the wrench icon that we just looked at. You can select text and then ask the AI to redraft the selected text in a specific way. In the same way, you can ask for summaries and for explanations.
That's great.
So that's in a nutshell what some of the AI modules allow you to do. That brings us to document analysis, which first of all offers automated proofreading. So it'll scan your document for typical drafting errors that sneak into any type of draft. The kind of work that I, as a junior lawyer, had to constantly do to review, to sanity check whether a document was more or less error-proof. And so you can see it covers a lot of different bases. Like, for example, if you have missing definitions for capitalized terms, if you have, like this one, for example, you can have terms that are used in a definition list, but never used anywhere in a document. these kinds of mismatches are very easy for the software to pick up, but it's quite labor intensive for a human to pick this kind of stuff up. Broken cross references in internal comments that are still in the document, all of those different things are caught automatically by the AI. And then because we also are able to visualize the defined terminology and the definition list so well, we can also create this overview generally. And this is very useful when you're, for example, within clause 56 and you come across a newly defined term and you then want to know what that term means. Ordinarily, you would have to control F your way to an answer, but with this overview, you can very quickly see whether or not what the definition for your term is, whether or not it's already being defined in the document somewhere.
It's very useful.
The capitalized terms and where exactly they're all being used. And then perhaps one of the functionalities that we're most excited about, one of the more recent additions, is the AI reviewing. As it says on the tin, this allows you to review a document based on your own requirements. So here, for example, I've got a license contract. So let's run it through my own rule set for license contracts. We tried in the past to have the AI do the full review without any further setup, without any further prompting. But what we found was that it just doesn't yield good enough results. You need to explain to the AI what it should be looking for. Every organization has their little pet peeves in their typical documents, and especially in in-house legal teams, you probably have like a contract playbook that you want the AI to follow, and you can just explain that to the AI, and it'll run these rules for you. And you can see here, this is the rule that we decided for applicable law. It just has to say applicable law is Belgian Courts of Brussels, and it finds here that the rule is not met because in fact the applicable law is France and the courts are Paris. And then you can also, if you do find that there are some issues here, like here for this mutual indemnification, it says that the indemnification is not mutual when it should be. As you can see here, any indemnification obligation should be mutual. And then you can ask the AI to rewrite that text for you to make it in line with the rule of mutual indemnification. Setting that up is also very easy. As you can see here, we've got our rules that we just looked at. This is the only explanation that was offered to the AI for these individual rules. So very straightforward to set up. You just explain in plain English what you want the AI to check for.
That's super helpful. Could you also upload a playbook or you manually specify the rules at the moment?
Yeah, you do manually specify them, but indeed what most of our clients, especially in-house legal teams, are doing on that front is they're basically recreating their playbook inside of this reviewing module.
Right.
That brings us to the final module, which is the Smart Template Document Automation. Like I said, there is a sort of watered down version of Clause 9 in ClauseBuddy that on the document automation spectrum sits on the more simple to learn, but also more limited in terms of flexibility side of things. If you want to start automating, it's really just a matter of highlighting your placeholders in blue and then uploading the document to ClauseBuddy, and that's basically sufficient information for it to work with. Ultimately, that means that you end up with something like this, where you could say like, oh, I need to draft a license agreement, and you have typical document automation style interview questionnaire. You just fill out some information on the left, and immediately that information shows up on the right. And then of course, there's more to this automation than just filling out placeholders. You can also have conditional logic and things like that. But this allows you to get to a perfectly styled first draft very quickly. And when you're done filling out this questionnaire, you just export to a Word or to a PDF document.
Terrific. Senne, I really think it's very clever the way that you've set this up to be kind of a maturity spectrum where you're effectively guiding people through the understanding around how to use a document automation system so that they get better and better at it. It's very cool. Thank you so much for showing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, everyone, if you would like to learn more and see a full demo of ClauseBuddy and learn more about Clause 9, ClauseBase's other product, please feel free to reach out to Senne and his team. We will put a URL at the bottom of the screen. Until then, Senne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nikki.
And thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.